For family time, that should be coming up any moment now. Do stay with us. Love 101 FM, their family radio, broadcasting from Kingston, Jamaica.
Every Wednesday at 11 a.m. on Love 101, you're invited to listen to Good Morning Minister, a weekly feature where government ministers will speak about the development in their various ministries. Listen for the updates and have your questions and concerns ready to share inside Good Morning Minister as the Minister of Information, Robert Nesta Morgan, and a guest minister or agency head discuss the issues and take your questions and suggestions. Get ready to call in during Good Morning Minister, 11 a.m. on Wednesdays, right here on Love 101, the family station.
Here's why for to miss the morning watch.
I love listening to the Morning Watch because topics are discussed and issues are highlighted that are of major importance, which in turn edify me.
The morning watch, Tuesdays, Wednesdays, and Thursdays.
I like listening to the Morning Watch. I find it very informative. I find it very interesting. The topics that are covered are very, very wide.
The morning watch, thought-provoking, insightful, current. Listen for the probing questions with attorney at law Stokely Marshall and the in-depth discussion with Reverend Dr. Dallin Toussaint. On Tuesdays, the Morning Watch is brought to you by Host Hardware, the leader in electrical building and everything for the home, and the Ministry of Economic Growth and Job Creation, achieving prosperity through partnership and development. The Morning Watch, Tuesdays, Wednesdays, and Thursdays. The Morning Watch is on the family station, Love 101.
This is Family Radio, Jamaica Love 101. It's time for the family. Good evening, good evening. Good evening, good evening, good afternoon, wherever you are. It's another amazing, wonderful Monday right here on Love 101. Thank you so much to Sir Derval for passing the baton over to me. And it's always a pleasure to be here with you another afternoon. This topic is going to be something that I need to get here for myself. So I'm looking forward to it. So good evening to you and welcome to everyone, including those on Facebook, YouTube, Live. This is, of course, Family Time. Family Time is about your issues and your relationships, your at-home family, your community family, and your global family. Family Time, of course, is produced. Family Time, of course, is produced by Family Life Ministries, and our aim is to enable healthy families, which will lead to healthy nations. So please stay with us and join us on all platforms, Facebook, as I stated before, and YouTube, which are live, and via Instagram. I am, of course, O'Neill Campbell. Children and anger management in families is what we'll be looking at today. Now, a topic we always seem to need to discuss. We're in Child's Month, of course, and this is a perfect topic to look at. Anger can be very toxic and destructive, a destructive emotion if we don't know how to manage it. And while we talk about it, let's get you answering this particular question. How do you know when your child is angry? Question again, how do you know when your child is angry? I know when my boys are angry. Trust me, they have their certain signs, of course. Send those questions via WhatsApp, text, and voice notes. Please, no longer than 30 seconds to 876-997-3125. Call the studio lines as well at 968-8327 or 968-8328. Of course, 876 area code goes before that. You can also watch us and comment live and on Love 101's Facebook page and YouTube. We'll be right back with our very special guest, Counselling Psychologist Pauline Bain. Don't go anywhere.
All candidates registered for City and Guilds exams in June, reminding you that math is on the 6th and English on the 7th of June. Both exams will be at 9 a.m. sharp. You will sit your exams at your schools. Don't miss this opportunity provided by the Ministry of Education and Youth. This certification could be your passport to the future. What is a budget? A budget is an estimate of total income and expenses over a period of time, such as a month or a week. You should review your budget often. You can make a budget for any project, business, or financial goal that you may have. This financial literacy tip was brought to you by Bank of Jamaica, building an inclusive economy.
Every Wednesday at 11 a.m. on Love 101, you're invited to listen to Good Morning Minister, a weekly feature where government ministers will speak about the development in their various ministries. Listen for the updates and have your questions and concerns ready to share inside Good Morning Minister as the Minister of Information, Robert Nesta Morgan, and a guest minister or agency head discuss the issues and take your questions and suggestions. Get ready to call in during Good Morning Minister, 11 a.m. on Wednesdays, right here on Love 101, the family station.
Welcome back to Family Time. Always, as I said, a pleasure to be with you another Monday afternoon. Now, of course, this is Family Time on Love 101, and we welcome Pauline Bain, who my apologies right off the bat. She's actually the Associate Counselling Psychologist, and she has actually, just quick bio on her, she's been a practicing Christian for more than 60 years and is an active member at Mona Chapel. She's also a founding board member, of course, of FLM. So I have to be on my P's and Q's and good behavior so I can get recommendation in the future, right? Mrs. Baines has worked at Family Life Ministries as a part-time licensed, as I said, associate counseling psychologist since 1995, and she provides a variety of services, including counseling for children, parents, premarital counseling in context of grief and loss, and so many other areas that we could take the entire cover. But we actually have this lovely lady here for this particular issue where it comes to anger management. Mrs. Bain, how are you doing?
Hi, good afternoon. I am well, and I'm very thankful to God for life.
Amen.
But
I fully agree.
I'm extremely concerned about the level of violence among family members in this our beautiful country. I'm concerned that anger has led to violence and death. And so I think it's important for us to discuss that topic today.
I totally agree. And that is why it's a pleasure to actually have you on today for us to actually discuss a few of these things. And time goes by so quickly. It's unfortunate sometimes because as we're getting into the meat of the matter, the time quickly runs by. So let's get right into it. Again, of course, Pauline, Mrs. Bain is our associate counseling psychologist for the evening. She is with us. But remember, of course, we have the question that we'd love for you to respond to, and it is, how do you know when your child is angry? Again, how do you know when your child is angry? So please respond accordingly on WhatsApp, on the Love 101 Facebook page, and of course you can call the numbers as I mentioned before, 968-8327, 968-8328. All right, let's jump right into it. So you started with your concern,
Yes,
which
yes.
is apt and very important. And I also have a major concern as well in terms of what I've been observing in Ireland. But please, could you describe for us what exactly is anger, and is there a difference really between anger and maybe just having a temper and so forth? Could we start there?
Okay. Anger is an emotion. It's a feeling that we have. And every one of us, all of us get angry, including little children.
Mm-hmm.
We see little children who throw what we call temper tantrums. They throw things, They throw themselves on the floor and they scream. If we
Mhm.
teach them how to manage their feelings, they can learn to behave differently. And that is my concern. It is a natural, normal reaction to situations, but we don't have to get to the place where we get into a temper and we cause harm.
Okay. Okay. So what would you say would be some triggers that would actually cause now our children? And trust me, I know, I, I know, I know it as an adult. Even ourselves get off the hill. But when it comes to our little blessings, our children, what do you think are some of the triggers that causes them to get angry?
Okay, there are many, many reasons why children get angry. Sometimes they may be hungry, they may be tired, sad, they may be feeling pain, they may be hurting, they may feel rejected, or they may be feeling unloved. Sometimes, a child comes up close to an adult who is a caregiver for attention, for touch, and that caregiver pushes the child away without recognizing how much he or she will be hurting that child. The child feels rejected and not loved when this happens. And if this happens frequently, the child will begin to believe that he or she is unlovable. So there are so many reasons why children get angry. And what is important is for the adults to find out from them what they are feeling. If they're children who are talking, have we lost connection?
I'm listening. Apologies. Yes, no, I'm listening to you. You said for children who are talking. Are you hearing me? Are you hearing me?
Yes, I can hear you.
Okay. It's interesting that you touched that point because I was actually thinking, which one is more difficult to actually to check on and well before that, what age range, when you talk about children, what range are you actually thinking from birth to what particular stage would you say these are the children that you're speaking to?
Well, officially, our children are from birth to just before they're 18. The day before they're 18, they're still children.
Okay.
That's the definition of children. So I'm talking about any child.
I would think though that I would assume it's not
Mhm.
always the case, but children that are latter stages of teenage should more more than likely be able to express themselves. But the ones who are a little younger, I have, for example, a 6-year-old who can express himself, but I see the different ranges in which he can get upset, and my other child as well. Sometimes anger comes through tears, without an expression. But for children who are a little younger than that, for example, who maybe, as I said, a toddler or even one who is unable to speak, how have you been able to map out and discover in terms of um, properly diagnosing that type of issue?
Okay, so the adults need to help the children to become aware of what they're feeling. So you talk to them. Even if they're not talking, you can talk to them because what you are doing is modeling for them. So you can talk to them. You can say, I wonder if you're feeling tired right now. We have been busy all morning and maybe you need to sleep. Maybe you need something to eat. So you are modeling and talking to the child, soothing the child, comforting the child. And so you say, let me give you some milk. Let me put you to sleep. Is your nappy wet? You're talking to the child who is not verbal yet.
Hmm.
Let me change your nappy. Because what happens to children who are not yet verbal, they still have feelings.
Right.
They become uncomfortable. And as the caregiver, our job is to meet their needs, whatever the needs are, whether it is to get something to eat or to be put to sleep or to change the wet nappy. Basically, as we care for those children, they recognize that somebody loves me, somebody cares for me, I know that somebody will soothe me and help me when I'm not feeling well. I can trust the people around me to take care of me. So that's for the younger ones. But when the child is older, one of the things I learned to say is use your words. Are you feeling tired? Are you sleepy? Are you hurting? What's happening to you right now? And as a caregiver, you try to meet the needs of the child. Remember, these children come and they need a lot of help in the first few years.
Right.
And if we can give them what they need when they need it, we help them to express their anger in appropriate and healthy ways. I'm not saying they will not get angry. What I'm saying is, if we can help them by talking it through with them and showing them ourselves. So when we feel angry, we don't throw down things and scream, because they learn from us when we do that.
Right.
Yes, so children get angry, but we can help them.
So I, I get the explanation, and all of that actually, when you say it makes sense. But in terms of the, I guess it's especially the child who is nonverbal. How, and let's say a parent has challenges with anger, so they're quickly triggered or easily set off, so to speak. Are you able to speak to those parents? What steps can they take to model what you're speaking about, so that their child doesn't replicate or they're not affected by? So we're going from stage of nonverbal to early stages of verbal, where a child can actually express himself. How can you speak to, or can you speak to a parent who has that challenge, is easily triggered, and now has to make reform and change to assist their child now coming up, that they don't make the same mistakes of modeling that poor character trait, so to speak?
Well, all of us as individuals need to get to the place where we can talk to ourselves, and it's not because we're mentally ill. It's talk
Right.
to ourselves to connect with what's happening inside of us. So if I notice that I am getting angry easily around my small children, I need to ask myself, what's happening here?
Hmm.
Why am I angry? Why am I responding in this way to my child who is just asking for a need to be met? And I may discover that money is short in the house, and I'm finding that frustrating. I
Right.
may discover that even though I'm not a single parent, I'm not getting enough support from my husband or my partner. And so I am irritable. When I discover how I am feeling, I need to begin to see, how do I change? Can I respond differently? Because it's not the child's fault that money is short. It's not the child's fault that my partner is not supporting me emotionally and financially. So I need to look at myself. And if I cannot look at myself and change the way I'm behaving, I may need to talk to somebody, a
Hmm.
counselor, or somebody, a friend, to say, you know, I find that I get angry when the baby comes or the toddler comes to me and wants something. And I'm wondering what's happening to me. It could be that I am tired and I need a little break, a 1 hour break to get some
If you're,
rest. Hello?
let us say that, yeah, I'm hearing you, and thanks for that. Let us say you're not afforded the opportunity to get that break that you're looking for, meaning there's no person to assist you and relieve you of so to speak, with your child, a young child, or so forth. How do you navigate that particular aspect?
I would want to see if I can find somebody. There must be somebody who I can trust, a
You're gonna be some.
responsible
You're gonna be some.
person.
a little pushback, Mrs. Bain, you're gonna be some that say, listen, I have no friend around here, and they say, listen, no matter how I look, I don't have no one who can assist me, or my family members are far away, so geographically they're whether overseas or in another parish, they can't assist, and it's just me and my little one son or my daughter, so to speak. How?
Okay.
Yes.
Okay. So one of the things I discovered when I had young children is that when the child slept, I would take a break. Instead of trying to clean the house, bring down everything, and do everything that
Yes.
needs to be done physically,
Hmm.
once the child goes to sleep, I take my 15-minute to half an hour break. And that is helpful. If you have no support for
Right.
that child, you are the only caregiver, then you rest when the child rests. And that can help to relieve the irritation and the tiredness. That's what I'd
Hmm.
suggest.
Hmm.
Do you think that that would
Right.
help?
Well, I don't think there are many other choices right now, because as I said, if everything else is out of the question, then that has to
Mhm.
be a help. But I think that's a great point.
Mhm.
As much as is possible, as Christians, self control is a key component that we have to try to exercise. Not always easy. I can testify to that. But as you said, if there's no other choice, then we have to navigate the space with trying to rest when the child rests, and try to not lash out. Though we are, upset or angry, something external, we can't take it
Yes.
out on the young child, which is not always easy. I was not making excuses. It happens, but we have to try to, as much as it's possible, not allow that to be a consistent pattern. You know.
Yeah. So that is why we need to be self aware. We need to be aware of what am I feeling right now? We need to be at the place where we can motivate ourselves. So
Mhm.
I am feeling really tired. It is difficult to look after this child, especially if the child cries a lot. You know, it is very difficult. But I am the adult in this situation, and
Right.
I am going to make the effort not to abuse the child, because what happens sometimes is that the adult gets so angry that the child is abused. And
Right.
in Jamaica, we hear of stories of how a parent punishes a child. Sometimes the child gets broken limbs, the child gets burnt, all kinds of things happen. And that's because the parent is frustrated and has no support. So each of us has to get to that place of, I'm angry. Why am I angry?
Hmm.
What can
So
I do?
self evaluation.
Maybe just go and get a drink of water. Maybe I'm hungry. I've been going all day and I haven't eaten. Just looking after this child. I need to get something to eat. But I want to
That's
tell you something about a chart I have in the play therapy room at Family Life Ministries. It's a chart that says, what's behind your anger?
yes.
And it gives a list of other feelings that could be the root of the anger.
Go right ahead.
It shows that anger is not always just anger. So, for example, you could be feeling afraid, fear. You could be feeling hurt, frustration, jealousy. Some people get very jealous about something and then they feel anger.
Hmm.
Disappointed. You could be feeling shame and guilt. And all of these feelings can lead to anger. So it's asking yourself, am I frustrated? Am I jealous of my neighbor across the road who has better support than I have?
Right.
So it's looking at your anger and digging deeper to say, what is behind my anger? And that can help us to look at ourselves. And if we can't do it alone, try and find somebody to help us. to understand why we're so angry.
So basically, what you're saying then is that there needs to be a lot of self-assessment consistently, so that you can see what could be triggers for you to go over the edge. So it's almost like preparing for a storm, or whatever, an earthquake. So there are things that are telltale signs
Yeah.
that say this is leading up to a situation. So I have to ensure that this is navigated, or this is
Yes.
dealt with. Um, um, Looking for the right term, but basically ensure that this is a preventative, right? So you're looking at preventative measures, so that you ensure that once you realize that maybe you start to breathe a little heavier, you know that you're getting upset, so maybe have to take a deep
Exactly.
breath or something to that effect, you know.
Yes. So you can have, for some people, they can have physical signs that they are getting angry. They begin to breathe heavier. They may feel burning behind their necks or stiffness, their
Right, right,
clenched fists, um, just feeling uncomfortable. And those are some physical signs that they may experience. And it's helpful to now ask yourself, why am I feeling like this? What should I be doing to help myself at this stage?
one
But
one other thing. Sorry, go
mhm.
ahead.
I was about to say also that children react in anger because they see their parents and family members who are angry. So they
Mm.
do what they see. If when my mother is angry, she throws things, anything in her hand, she just throws it. She stamps her feet, or she screams and shouts. Then the child learns that that's how you behave when you're feeling angry. And so the child does the same thing.
Right. I completely understand that. I've been guilty. So that is definitely something that I have to work on personally. Now, we're gonna get into ways, corrective measures, I'm sure, at the back
Yeah.
end of the program.
Mm-hmm.
But anything else within that area that you just want to highlight before we go to our break, especially when it comes
Okay.
to the children? So you're stating that they do what they see, as opposed to do what we say,
Yes,
right?
we can tell them, try to be calm and don't scream and don't throw things. But we do that. And so they learn from us. But I want to talk about an aspect of anger that we sometimes don't pay attention to. And it can cause a lot of harm within a person and in their interpersonal relationship. And
Okay.
one of my concerns is that I hear on the news that two brothers were fighting and one killed the other, or cousins were fighting and one killed the other. And I'm saying, how did that happen? When did that happen? And I thought, if we examined and interviewed them, the survivor, we might discover that anger had been the root of it for years.
Right.
We carry this anger, and then one little thing happens and it blows up to the extent that it's violence and somebody kills somebody. So sometimes we hide our anger. We don't shout, we don't lose our temper. We just quiet and cool. And often people say, oh, I can't believe he did that because he was so cool. But
Right.
all the time, that anger is there and there's resentment.
Wow.
Ah, sometimes some people hide behind a sense of humor. They make jokes, but they're really serious. And they're really angry, but they are covering it.
Wow. But stick up in right there. I like the direction we're going, but I'm gonna run to a quick break. So remember, folks, to tell us, how do you know when your child is angry? We're looking forward to your responses. WhatsApp, text, and voice notes, 30 seconds or less to 9973125. Watch us and comment live on Love 101 Facebook and YouTube, or call 968-8327, 968-8328 to participate. And I'm sure Mrs. Bain will be happy to respond to any queries. Now, we have a special feature. And we're going to have Word to Flesh moment with Reverend Mike in this particular episode of WTF, Words to Flesh Moments with Reverend Mike. Let's have that right now as we go to the next break.
In the Bible book of James, chapter 1, verse 19 and 20, it says, "My dear brothers and sisters, take note of this. Everyone should be slow to anger, because human anger does not produce the righteousness that God desires." In Ephesians 6, verse 4, Paul the apostle advises, "Fathers, don't provoke your children to anger." And again in Colossians 3:21, he writes, "Fathers, do not provoke your children." Anger is a human emotion that is quite often encouraged in our Jamaica land we love. Some of us view it as a favorable characteristic, so much so that we boast about telling someone a piece of our mind, and we encourage our friends to go mash down the boy cause I diss him, diss you. Even Christians get caught up in this emotion. For after all, the brother or sister was rude and needs to be strongly spoken to. If you love God and believe the Bible is His word, then anger is an emotion that you must make every effort to bring under control. Psalm 37 verse 8 says, "Refrain from anger and forsake wrath. It leads only to evil." Then as an adult, teach the same to your children. Child development specialists believe that this is best done between birth and 8 years old. Do you struggle with anger right now? Perhaps an adult didn't give you the tools to control yours when you were a child. Don't make the same mistake with your children. I'm Reverend Mike from Fellowship Tabernacle Ministries, and we just had a WTF moment.
Get ready for another inspiring show this Testimony Tuesday inside Alive 1 to 5 May 16, packed with inspirational stories and island-flavored music. 1:45 we bring you the brain testing menticized listener speak edition. Stick around for prayer blast at 2 o'clock as we ring in the prayer bells of heaven. 2:15 inside the evidence, we share with you another testimony boasting about the power of God. Then at 3 p.m., we go behind the pulpit for another inspiring story. All this and more will come alive 1 p.m. to 5 p.m. May 16 with me, Sarah, and the Chirpy One on the family station, Love 101. Celebrating 30 years of music, family, and love.
Give him praise, give him praise. Now we're celebrating 30 years of music and family, 30 years of love. We're celebrating 30 years of music and family, 30 years of love. We're celebrating 30 years of love. We're celebrating 30 years of love. 30 years of love.
Fire in My Soul Promotions in association with Kingdom Liberty Evangelistic Ministries and partners present Kingdom Worship Experience with Kevin Downswell, Rhoda Isabella, Mark Johnson, Harry Sales, and CAG Family. Music by DJ Rebirth, DJ Marshy Reds, and DJ Stick. Saturday, May 27, 2 p.m. to 11 p.m. at Curfew Place, 4 South Avenue, Swallowfield. Admission is free. Just bring an offering and proceeds in aid of the Swallowfield Primary and Infant School. 876-776-3217.
Welcome back, everyone. It is now 5 minutes past the hour of 6. And of course, we are speaking about anger management, especially when it comes to our children, right? And so we continue with Mrs. Bain. Now, for me, quickly, as I said, I've mentioned at different points that I'm guilty. So it's something I have to work on. But when I know or recognize when my children are upset, the youngest one, he literally has the facial expression. So the head goes down, the frown comes in, maybe the clenched fist, and he'll express that he's upset. So you can see it building at the different expressions. The older one now does have expressions at times, but when he's really upset, he might shed tears. You can realize that he's very upset, but he's trying to hold it in. So for my words, they are varied in their approaches of when you can recognize that they're angry, um and as I stated that it is something that has to be worked on. So I can hold my hand up and probably have to have, if I can afford her, Mrs. Bain, a session. Right, but in all seriousness, it is definitely something that, as parents, guardians, we have to work on. We have to manage, and as much as it's possible, eradicate some of these negative things that are not helping to build strong bonds in the family, and it actually negatively affects our children, and they can actually take that into the school, into other areas, and negatively affect others as well, based on what has been expressed and what they've seen. So we have to be very, very careful in that regard. So as I stated, I have to hold my hand up. So please, feel free, um, our viewers and listeners, to chime in of our WhatsApp. You can message us, call us on the studio lines, and also respond on YouTube and Facebook, Love 101's Facebook page and YouTube Live and Instagram. And we have, as I stated, Instagram as well. All right. So, Mrs. Bain, back over to you. Let's take a look at, as you go into the next part, what to do and not to do when your child is angry. So let's look at that. And what does your child do when they're angry? So basically, let's look at the full gamut, positives and negatives of anger, if you can look at that. Let's say positives of
Yeah.
anger. If there can be such a thing, I guess, but we there must be a way to look at that, and then we will look at some other areas as well. So what do we do, or what to do or not to do, I'm sorry, when your child is angry?
Okay. Thank you. I want to comment on Reverend Mike's words to flesh moments
Sure.
because he was very, very to the point. He even used some passages of scripture that I intended to use. In your anger, do not sin. Ephesians 4:26. Do not let the sun go down while you're still angry.
Yes.
And I think you use refrain from anger. Psalm 37, verse 8. Refrain from anger and turn from wrath. Do not fret, it leads only to evil. And James 1:19. My dear brothers and sisters, take note of this. Everyone should be quick to listen, slow to speak, and slow to become angry. And what happens to us sometimes is that we are not quick to listen and slow to speak. And so we misunderstand what's happening sometimes in our interactions. And I know when my children were growing up, I had that problem sometimes. And I remember when my older son said, Mommy, you said you would listen. Listen, Mommy, listen. I said, okay, I will listen. And I stopped and listened. So I could hear exactly what happened because children do have explanations for
Right.
what's happening to them. But if we don't listen to them, they feel unloved. They
Yes.
feel ah, that their
Rejected.
presence is not important,
Right. Right.
or who they are is not important. So we need to learn to listen to them.
Or Mrs. Bain, I have a chime. That's another guilty point. Boy, so many stripes I have. This is not a good show for me to be on. But we're quick to say, listen, be quiet, man, and I don't want to hear nothing. I don't want to hear what you have to say, right? And we kind of shut them down because
We shut them down.
don't
And-
say anything, and they want to
Exactly.
express what it is that is happening with them, and even and taking the time to listen to them and say, oh, you know what, it's something that could be understood and navigated, as opposed to just dismissing
Yes,
their
and
comments and statements.
we minimize what's happening to them because we do not see them as persons who have feelings, who need to be affirmed.
Right.
And so, as parents, we have to be careful about that. I want to bring
Before
to
you
your
continue, before you continue, hold that point. Before you continue, let me just plug in, because we definitely want to hear from our viewers and listeners. Remember, WhatsApp, text, and voice notes no longer than 30 seconds, please, to 997-3125. That's 876-997-3125. Watch us, and you can also comment on live on our Love 101 Facebook and YouTube pages, our channels, right? Studio lines are 968-8327, 968-8328. And the question is, how do you know when your child is angry? Go right ahead, Mrs. Bain.
Yeah, and that's a very difficult question. As you have pointed out, your two children react differently. So we really need to have the conversation. But before I do that, I want to bring out two statistics of which I'm aware in Jamaica. About 40% of pregnancies in Jamaica are unplanned, unwanted, or mistimed, which means
Wow.
that fairly often from pregnancy, the mother was not happy emotionally and she was not bubbling that she was pregnant. And so her attitude to this baby could be very negative, and the baby in utero knows that.
Oh,
And
Mrs. Bain, that's a huge point to bringing up. That's something that I don't think people are really thinking about. I'm sorry to interrupt, but I'm just blown away that 40%, and it could be more. Who knows?
It could be more.
Right, that persons who are in pregnancy, because we understand speaking, that when people talk about playing music for the child and in the tummy and speaking, but you're saying that the anger which is within that parent who's carrying the child, it permeates, probably you would say, that particular child, because it's unwanted, untimed, or mistimed,
Mistimed and
my God,
unplanned.
unplanned.
Yes.
Wow.
Yes. So we need to do much more for our children to help them to feel wanted. And the other statistic I want to bring to your attention is that about 49% of firstborn children do not grow up with their biological mothers. So children are sad.
Sorry. Biological mothers or fathers?
Mothers.
49%?
About that, yes. And many children are sad and they feel unwanted. And they will say, as adults, my mother didn't want me.
Sorry, Mrs. Bain, after interject, is that local statistics?
Yes.
Wow.
Yes.
I would have
You
never.
see, what happens?
Imagine.
A young woman gets pregnant at 17 or 18. She has this child. She can't manage. She's on her own. She takes the child to her mother.
Right, grandma.
Or her aunt, or somebody who can help her, so that she can go and earn some money to look after the child.
Wow.
And so sometimes the child does not see the mother for 2-3 years. Child has been left there. Mother can't manage, but she would send things for the child. And I am saying that some of the anger and sadness come from situations like these.
Mrs. Bain, don't move from there. Let us go a quick break, but before the break comes, let me have that YouTube comment, please, and then we jump to the break. All right, I'm enjoying the program and love the questions to Mrs. Bain. My 3-year-old tosses stuff and rolls on the floor. All right, so That's one there, Mrs. Bain. We'll tackle it when we get back, if you can address
Okay.
that. So we go to a quick break and we pick up right where we left off.
Get ready for another inspiring show this Testimony Tuesday inside Alive 1 to 5 May 16, packed with inspirational stories and island flavored music. 1:45 we bring you the brain testing menticize listener speak edition. Stick around for prayer blast at 2 o'clock as we ring in the prayer bells of heaven. 2:15 inside the evidence, we share with you another testimony boasting about the power of God. Then at 3 p.m., we go behind the pulpit for another inspiring story. All this and more will come alive 1 p.m. to 5 p.m. May 16 with me, Sarah, and the Chirpy One on the family station, Love 101. Celebrating 30 years of music, family, and love.
Give him praise, give him praise.
Sometimes all we need is a listening ear. The listening ear, the counseling, the logical reasoning, and spiritual guidance are what appeal to us. That's why I'm here. I'm Dr. Joan Pinkney, the counselor, your counselor on Love 101 FM, Tuesdays and Wednesdays, 10 to 11 p.m. You know you can call on me. I will listen and more. So let's talk about what's bothering you. Anything. Tune in, listen, call in, text or voice message. I'm Dr. Joan Pinkney, counseling psychologist, ready with a listening ear. Tuesdays and Wednesdays, 10 to 11 p.m. Right here on the family station, Love 101 FM.
Welcome back to Family Time. And let's not waste any time, Mrs. Bain. Where art thou?
Yes.
All right, Mrs. Bain,
Here I
please,
am.
please pick up where you left off.
I'm
Listen,
here.
you have me right at the edge now, because that particular stat that you brought up, it's just blowing me away. So pick up right where you left off. If you want to repeat the stat again, please go ahead, because that's crazy. That's, I would say, crazy.
Yes. Well, about 40% of pregnancies in Jamaica are unplanned, unwanted, or mistimed. And that is sad because the state of mind of the mother is very important to the development of the fetus and what happens to the child after birth. And then about 49% of firstborn children do not grow up with their biological mothers. So I believe that many of our children are sad and feel unwanted because sometimes people say, is a lady look after me? She wasn't related to me at all, or it was my grandmother. And we get many adults who say, it's my grandmother who grew me. And she was good to me. Although sometimes some grandmothers, out of frustration, also expressed a lot of anger to be tied down with extra children. And sometimes it's not only one, but it's 2 or 3 from different children. So that is something we need to look at carefully in Jamaica. But can I go on, because there was a question about the 3-year-old?
Sure.
Yes.
No, I'm open to you. Go right ahead.
Yeah. And I know time is flying. The 3-year-old who throws himself or herself, I wasn't sure if it was male or female, and rolls on the floor and screams.
Right. 3-year-old tosses things.
Yes, throws
right,
things.
Tosses things and rolls on the floor.
Rolls on the floor. I would want to take that child in my arms to find out what's happening. Why is this child so upset? I would want to begin to teach the child, since he or she is 3 years old, use your words and tell me what's happening. Are you tired? Are you hungry? Are you sleepy? Or you're not getting what you want right now? Maybe you want to go play and it's time to rest. But I would want to talk to the child to try and see if I could find out what's happening to the child. And then I will soothe the child the first few times. But after that, I would just allow the child to throw the tantrum and finish off. And then when the child has finished throwing the tantrum, then I take the child in my arms. And I
All
would,
right, so break that down. So basically, you're saying the first few times you're going to, if the child begins to toss things and roll around, you're saying
mhm.
you're going to go and take the child up in your arms and embrace the child. Is that what you're saying?
Yes, for the first few times, that would be my method because I don't know
What's a
what's happening.
what's a few? What's a few?
Maybe
What would
two,
you say?
three times, the first two,
Okay.
three times, I would want to give the child some comfort because something is happening. As I say, it could be frustration. It could be he's not getting what
I'm
he
not sure
wants to
if it's on my side, but it's breaking up. But basically,
do.
I'm seeing a response that if the child is also not expressing themselves, so it's basically just action as opposed to
So
verbal as well.
at three, the child is not speaking. If the child
Right,
is not
not
speaking
expressing.
at three, the child needs to be assessed. Does the child have a speech impediment? Does the child have some other condition? And
Mhm.
so the child is not able to speak, to express, I'm hungry,
And that
I
could
would
be
like,
frustrating too.
yeah, that would be very frustrating for a 3-year-old because a 3-year-old should be able to say something.
Um,
So
uh,
the
and
child needs to be
refusal to talk, as a producer said, maybe for refusal to talk, could be a combination. But as you said, the parent would know based on general interaction if it's a refusal to speak when they're angry or it's literally not expressing themselves at that juncture.
yeah, so
Okay, so speaks but not
most
communicating.
3-year-olds can say something.
Right.
They
Okay,
may
so it's speaking and
refuse.
not
They
communicating.
may refuse to
Yes.
communicate,
Right. I think
but
that's
they
where it's at. Right.
can. They
Refusal. A
can
refusal.
say something if
Right.
their speech has been developed. So
Right.
I would want to find out what's happening.
Okay. So it's
And
so as I'm watching the comments, it is no communication during that episode. So it's
it's just
episodes.
during the episode.
Right.
Yeah. So it's encouraging the child to speak.
Okay.
And there are lots of people who get very angry and they don't communicate.
True. True.
So
Um.
we need to help that child to learn to say what is happening.
But Mrs. Bain, a whole
Yes.
heap of money me spend, and me must just make the child fling whatever. I don't know what I'm going through and broke my TV and
Yeah.
you're saying allow the child to get it all out. I don't know if I can
No, no,
afford
no.
the
When I
expense.
say get it all out, I don't
Mhm.
mean that the child is allowed to throw and
Remember,
continue.
remember, remember, the child is a tosser.
So, for example, I instead of saying no, 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 don't do that,
Right.
I would say to the child, uh, we throw balls, we do not throw cups. If you don't want the cup anymore, please put it on the table or put it in the sink. And if you want to throw a ball, you'll have to go outside to do that. So, as adults, we have to be calm, thoughtful, and not flare up when the child does that kind of thing.
So
So,
basically, it's stepping into authority and showing the child who's really in charge and trying to navigate that situation
yes, yes.
appropriately.
And
Sorry.
trying to understand why would this 3-year-old throw things? What kinds of things is this 3-year-old throwing?
Right.
Because when he gets to 7, he may continue throwing
Right.
if we don't correct him now.
All right. Time is, boy, I tell you, time goes so quick. We need a part two. Could we have the other YouTube question as well for so Mrs. Bain can see that as well? That was earlier. Or the 10-year-old. All right. So Richie Pooh says, my 10-year-old says we don't listen to him and then starts crying. My son cries as well at times. So very same thing. And he's 11 going 12. So yes. Could we address that?
Yes. So I would sit the 10-year-old down and say to him, tell me what you want to tell me. Say what you have to say. You say, I do not listen to you, and I want to listen now. And listen, don't start arguing and
This is
disagreeing.
Bain. Stop mashing McCann.
What you need to do is to listen.
Yes. As I'm
The
start
child
talk, I don't want to
says,
hear it.
you don't listen to me. And there are a lot of children who believe that adults do not listen to them.
That's true.
They
That's true.
just give them instructions. Go do this, go do that.
Right.
And they become resentful.
True.
And they can become violent. They can become revengeful.
Yes.
So
Try to their sibling, if anything, it's older to younger and younger to
sometimes
older.
there's conflict between the children,
Yes.
and we listen to one but not the other. So we really need to listen to what the child has to say, because the child feels unheard.
Right.
Nobody's listening to me. The same thing is happening to me at school, the child may say. The teachers are not listening. And now I come home, you don't listen either.
True.
So we need to do that.
It's respond. We do speak to him after the fact, and he understands, but we find it hard to take his rebuttals. So that's on the parent. The child responds. I'm like, what this boy faced it.
Yes.
Or,
And what we have to do is to teach them to be respectful. I will listen to you. You can tell me what's happening, but it must be done in a respectful manner. I'm not going to accept
disrespect.
And that should be clear. And we ourselves must not be disrespectful either.
All right, Mrs. Bain, we are fast coming to the close. First of all, let me say, the parent with the 3-year-old is telling you thanks so much for your advice. She really appreciates it. So Thank you. And I'm sure for any other parent that heard, Mrs. Bain, any tips or secrets that you could leave, and any words of advice before we go?
Well, I wanted to recommend Proverbs 15 verse 1.
Please go ahead. Yes.
A gentle answer turns away wrath, but a harsh word stirs up anger. We need to be gentle. In Jamaica, I see people talking as if they're fighting, and then they laugh. And I'm saying, how come? They were talking and they were so rough with each other.
Right.
We need to be more gentle. And we're not creating soft children. We're creating children who have empathy, children who will think about other people and not hurt people with their anger. So let's see if we can be slow to speak and slow to become angry and quick to listen and to respond gentler. We are a little bit too harsh as a people.
True.
And our children learn all of this very early, and some of them keep it in and don't do anything about it. And then one day she just gets so angry and blows up like a pressure cooker.
Yes.
And that is what we need to try to prevent. I am convinced that a lot of the violence in our country could be less if we teach each other how to manage anger. Driving on the roads, people are angry and they're not prepared to stop behind somebody else. So we need to teach them.
Got it.
Something I've said this evening will help somebody to be gentler, less angry.
Mrs. Bain, you don't worry yourself. Just by the comments coming in, you're reaching someone. You're reaching me. So we'll talk. Thank you so much, Mrs. Bain.
You are welcome.
Thank you, everyone, for being here with us. If you have any questions of a personal nature or a concern about a friend or family member, call us at Family Life Ministries for our center in Portmore at 100 17 Cecile Avenue. Call 876-939-7917. For more information on our services or for our counselors in Kingston and other parts of the island, contact our head office at 920-1034, 876-926-8101. Note that appointments can only be made by calling the offices. Otherwise, keep up to date with what's happening on Facebook, FLM Family Life Ministries. Subscribe to our YouTube channel, Family Life Ministries FLMJA. Before we leave, here's the scripture for this evening, Proverbs 14, verse 29. Whoever is slow to anger has great understanding, but he who has a hasty temper exalts folly. Join us again next week at 5:30 p.m. on Love 101, Facebook and YouTube Live via Love 101's Facebook page and Love 101 YouTube channel for another informative program. Thanks to special guests, Associate Counseling Psychologist Pauline Bain. Thanks also to our show producer Kathy Gale, Open Door Communications. To the facilitator this evening, Daniel Downs, and of course to you. Thanks so much for tuning in. I'm O'Neill Campbell. Till next time, take care, stay blessed.